Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Ask Me Monday. I am Vickie Howell. As always, I am here to start out your week with a little bit of creativity, usually yarn-related creativity, but we can talk whatever you'd like. And also, since it's a new year, we are focusing on new skills. So I got a couple of questions actually on an unrelated video about how to work with two circular needles. So we're going to be talking about that for today, but of course, first, tell me what you made over the weekend, how you were creative, whether it was knitting something, crocheting something, taking a picture, baking something. And if you have a link to what you made or what you're making, please share it with us. This is your community. The comment section, please talk to each other, tell each other where you're watching from as well. I worked on a market bag for the Knit Show book that I'm allegedly writing, but so behind on, and also swatches for the Instagram, the Knit Show Instagram feed. It's a swatch a day January, so there's tons of inspiration. If you're not already following on Instagram, it's just at the Knit Show. We have so far 21 swatches of just different inspirations for yarn, color, stitch patterns. Even if you don't make even one of them, it's still kind of lovely to look at. You can see some of them are behind me, just some of them. So check that out. Okay, so there are many ways to knit in the round for small circumferences. So I'm not talking about for a head or for a sweater, but maybe for a sock or the crown of a hat or a sleeve or whatever. So you can use double pointed needles, and if you don't know how to use double pointed needles but are interested, you can check out the video that I've posted on my Facebook page, reposted from the Joanne Craft Store site. I gave a tutorial on that last week. You can also work with the magic loop method, which I have shown on Ask Me Monday before, and you can go to the video section of Facebook on my page, and you can go back to the archives to check that out. So magic loop is a way to knit in the round for small circumferences, but with one circular needle. But you have to have one, and it needs to have a long cord, like at least 32 inches is. You can sometimes fake it till you make it with shorter, but really it works out better. Today, we're going to be working with two. So hello, Christina from Germany. Hello, Tina from Indiana. So nice to see you all here. All right, so this is not the magic loop method, which I know there was some confusion about that earlier. There's so many options if you want to work in the round on small circumferences. We like to cover all of them here so that you can do you. Find the one that fits, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera over in a second just to give you a demonstration, but let me go over the basics. So all you need for this particular technique are two sets of the same size double-pointed needle, or excuse me, circular needles. They can be any length, and they do not need to be the same length, but they do need to be the same size needle, so the same actual, gauge size needle. For this technique, though, I highly recommend that you use two different kinds of needles, and I'll show you why that's important later. So they're the same size, but like, a bamboo and a plastic, or a metal and a plastic, or two different colors of plastic, or whatever, just so you can see the difference. If you don't have that at the ready, and you're using two of the exact same kind, then take a Sharpie or a little nail polish or something and make a really tiny mark on one of your cords so that you can know which is which. And this will make sense to you in just a second. So I'm going to flip over the camera and we're going to get started right away. Normally I'd work on smaller, most commonly this technique is used for socks or, small baby items, and so I would use a smaller gauge, but I think it's a little bit easier to work on sort of bigger needles just for seeing it, especially if you're watching this on your phones, because I'm shooting this on my phone, so I just assume that maybe we're in it to win it together. Okay, I'm flipping around, and we'll get set up. Okay, if any of you think that you have friends or colleagues or cohorts who might be interested in this technique, please share this video. It really helps. I've noticed the algorithm on Facebook has changed a little bit, so not as many people are gaining access to the videos. The count's going down, so I want to make sure that we're sharing all of this information with each other. And if you have questions as we go along, I will do my best to watch them as they come up, as I am also teaching you. Okay, so first what you want to do is you want to take one of your circular needles and your yarn, and you want to cast on stitches. The cast on method does not matter at all for this demonstration. I'm using just the one that I learned how to do when I learned how to knit. It's called the single tail cast on, or that's what I call it at least. And if you're interested in learning this cast on slower, on my YouTube channel, just at Vickie Howell, I have a playlist of just basics where I break this down and show it to you. Okay, so I'm going to cast on just an even amount of stitches. It doesn't have to be even, but it'll make it easier for me to demonstrate this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. Oh, let's just do 14. Why not? Okay. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, so we've got all our stitches cast on. Now it's time to introduce our second. This is done much the same way as if you were working with your DPNs, where you cast on a one double pointed needle and then you distribute them to the rest. Same sort of philosophy here. So what we want to do is we need to slide our stitches all the way down to the opposite end of the needle. And then we introduce our second needle, and you'll slide the stitches about half of them. If you're working in an odd number, just sort of as close to half as you can get. So you'll be one off on them, just so it's relatively even. You want to slip them purlwise so they're not twisted. Six. Okay, so we had 14 stitches, so I'm going to do 7. Okay, until half of them are on the second needle. My cords are wrapped around my camera, so give me a second. Okay, then you're going to hold them parallel. And you're going to see that you've got half on half. Now, I mentioned to you earlier that it doesn't matter what length of cords you have, and it really doesn't. I will tell you that the shorter they are, the less like cray-cray it is at the beginning, but it's not crucial. Okay, then you're going to slide both sets of stitches all the way to the opposite end. All right, as with double pointed needles, the joining in the round at the very beginning is the most sort of mind-blowing part, and then after that it's smooth sailing. Carla's just tuning in. She wants to know what this knitting is called. What we are doing right now are knitting small circumferences using 2 circular needles in place of double pointed needles. Okay, so I've slid my stitches all the way up to the tips. And now you're always going to be working at the very beginning with the second needle that you introduced. So I'm going to get in the ready position. The other thing to note, and this is why you want to have 2 different color needles if possible, or else mark them, is that you're never going to work with one end of one needle and another of the opposite needle. You will only ever knit on the buddy needle of the same set. So this is why it really helps, because if you're in your zone and all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what needle to pick up, just know that you're always using the buddy needle. Okay, so to join the round, you see that your working yarn, that's actually my tail, your working yarn is over here. You're going to just knit the stitch, and it doesn't matter if you knit continental or English. I just happen to be an English knitter. And you're going to knit that first stitch. Give it a little tug so that it closes it up. Okay, and then knit one more stitch just for security. And then you can take this needle so it's not in the way and just slide it out and let these needles hang loosey-goosey right on the cord. Okay, so then you'll just knit as you normally would. Tail out of the way until you get to the end of this needle. So now that your left hand needle is empty, that will tell you 2 things. One, you're halfway through your round. 2, it's time to move on to the other set of needles. So that's when you pick up your second one. pull it so your stitches are ready and flip it just as if you were using straight needles. And then you're going to just pick up the yarn and continue to knit the second half of the stitches. And again, if you want, you can pull this one out of the way and let them hang on the cord. It's totally up to you. And remember, with this video, the recorded broadcast will be playing here and on my YouTube channel so that you can come back later and you can rewind it and rewatch. Okay, we're done with this needle, and that is the first round. So you've knit one round. So to get started again on round 2, and you'll know your tail is there, so you know that you're at the end of the round. Again, you just lather, rinse, repeat. So pull the other needle, flip, grab your working yarn. I guarantee this will be easier when you're not also straddling a tripod, as I am. Pick up that second needle, and you're on your way. So this is one of those skills that looks a little bit more precarious than it actually is, but I think I really prefer it to the magic loop method, which, as I mentioned earlier, is used with one long cord, because I don't have to worry about the cord length. And the other cool thing is that, let's say I have to stop and drop my knitting, as I often do, because especially smaller projects that are in the round, I have to, I often throw in my purse. What's cool about this is you can just let the stitches hang loose on the needles, and you're not going to lose any stitches. So I really like that. I also like that you don't have to hunt down, 4 to 5 DPNs that match, because, sometimes we are not all that organized. Speaking for myself, probably only. Okay, so you'll continue in the manner. Well, let me see. Let me go ahead and grab these. You'll continue in that manner. So we're halfway through the round. Pick up my other needle. And continue to knit. So this method would be great for socks, for wrist warmers, for baby hat, for the top of a hat as you decrease, and for mobile on the go, because if you throw all your project in the bag, you're less likely to lose stitches because, as I said before, so I've worked that second round. You can just put them on hold like that. Okay, so let me just show you what it looks like. Here's a smaller piece. This is a tube that's already been worked a little bit. This is on a worsted yarn. And also much longer cords. Now, ideally, I would have had shorter cords because I just think, you've got a lot. I also have a new kitten. Let me tell you, setting this up it took some work. I'm not going to kid you. But you can see what a nice tube it creates. Really little. And for this one, I see that I'm ready to flip over. I didn't mean to pull that. Grab my second needle. I remember that I'm always just working with buddy needles, so the 2 that match. And you would just continue to knit. And that's all there is to it. This takes a little bit of practice, but I guarantee it'll make sense to you. Actually, I should not guarantee that. Not guaranteeing. I guarantee it won't be as hard as it seems like it might be. And it's a very viable option for knitting in the round. So that's it. New skill. Apparently my new skill is not working the tripod this weekend. That's really all there is to it. It's just another sort of great skill to put in your arsenal of knitting techniques. All right, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. I will do my best to get back and answer them. Also, if there are future topics you'd like me to cover, please put those there and I will absolutely consider it. Don't forget to check out the Knit Show if you have not already. We have that whole season that's ready for binge watching love, and we're trying to update with bonus content as well, and you can find that on thenitshow.com and also on YouTube, of course. And don't forget Instagram we just have about 9 more days of Swatch a Day January, also at the Knit Show. And then also, of course, follow at Vickie Howell, and please share this video if you can to anyone that you think might be interested in the technique. Thank you so much for starting your week off with me. As always, I hope you have a creative, peaceful week. Mwah!